All right, what is up, everybody? This is Alex once again with the consistently most inconsistent MTG podcast, the EOT News Flash. This is episode 77. We're going to worry about Standard again. And tonight I am joined by my co-host, the Buster of Sleeves himself. All hail, Mr. Shawn. How are you tonight, sir?
Good. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How was that for an intro? You like that?
That was good. That had a lot of gravitas to it.
I think some more fanfare next time. If you get like a trumpet in the background, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we need some pedals raining down, like a champion entering the ring. I like it.
The official EOT News Flash marching band.
Yes.
Now we're talking.
Perfect.
All right. So tonight we're going to cover the pre-release, which was over the weekend. Hour of Devastation has been unleashed upon us. You know, the winners, the losers, what underperformed, what overperformed. You know, last go around we had Glorybringer as the rare to beat. Did we have a rare in this set that is of equal power level? Have a little bit of standard prediction, little crystal ball gazing, if you will, for standard that's kicking off this very weekend. And as it was decided today, the EOT Newsflash is going to GP Denver. So we're going to talk about that for a couple minutes. But it's going to be should be a fun night. So I unfortunately didn't get to play in a pre-release. My body was completely destroyed after a heavy night of, let's just say, adult beverage consumption. So
some people were real disappointed, buddy.
I know. I felt like my mind was completely awake on Saturday morning, but my body just couldn't do it. And it's a long drive from Weatherford to Dallas, so I was just like, next time. But Shawn, you did play in a pre-release. Did you only play in the one pre-release, or did you play in multiples?
Yeah, I just did the one. I'm still getting a little bit settled in the new house, so I just did the one so I could come back and have time to do a little more touching up and stuff like that. Went and played the 10:30 a.m. at Common Grounds, where they actually had Wizards send out representatives to record stuff, and I went.
That's right. How was that?
It was pretty interesting. They only interviewed like Jameson and some people. They didn't really interview much. I haven't seen I don't think the video's been posted yet, but there were a couple times where I was like sitting where the camera was going. So hopefully I get a little notoriety. But I mean it was pretty cool. It wasn't really very different. I ended up going 3-0-1 with a pretty sweet red-black deck. It was like the weirdest, probably one of the weirdest limited decks I've ever played.
Okay.
Because the creatures were overall pretty worthless. Like none of them had much text. They were all like 3-drop 3/3s and like just really vanilla creatures. But I had 6 insane removal spells, and I splashed Nicobolus, and then I had like Torment of Hellfire. And so like I played these really dumb creatures that had no purpose aside from just like attacking and then trading. So my Torment of Hellfire could be really good.
Yeah,
it was a weird day. Went 3-0-1. I drew the last round for extra packs, and then we played it out for fun. And I proceeded to draw 12 lands, 5 spells, and then 2 lands after I threw 7 turns. So I was like, well, I'm real glad we drew this because the wheels came off in fashion. I went 2-0 to everybody, and then the wheels came off. Only played Nicobolus once that day, but he won. He won real good.
Of course he does. You cast him on 7. It's like, all right, I'm gonna deal something to your face.
Yeah,
that's usually how
Torment was auto win. I played my Nicobolus, and my opponent was top decking, and he had the 2/3 Menace with fire breathing and exert. Exert, yeah. And then he had 2/3. It was a 2/3 that you can exert to give +2/+0, and he had Menace. Yeah. And then he played the 2/3 with fire breathing and reach, and I had a 5/4 blocker, and so I just play this Nicobolus, and I'm like, we'll see, and so I plus, and I get a free keep your exerted guy tapped, and then I next turn plus, and I get his 5/5 hexproof for free, and I play a 3/1 flyer, and he's at 10, so I pass turn, he can't do anything. When he passes back, I'm like 3U, 7U with Nicobolus, game over. It was great. He ended the game real fast. We were at a board state where I was probably a little bit behind, but not by a whole lot, and then I just rolled it in 3 turns.
I mean, when you got the Godfrey on your side, I mean, what more can you ask for?
He's a strong card. I'm sure we'll talk about him some.
Oh yeah, there was a picture from one of the 200 pre-releases down here in my area in Florida, and every top 8, or I guess top 4 team of the 200 Giant had at least one Nicobolus in their decks.
Oh gosh!
It's just this is the stupidest thing ever.
That's real dumb.
And multiple invocations across those teams as well. And I'm like, this seems a little bit fishy, but
that's absurd.
Yeah, but That's the way things go. So was that? So from all the games you got to play, did you see a rare or a card that you just went, that thing is stupidly powerful, kind of like Glorybringer was for the Amonkhet pre-release?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that was just like really, really strong. I want to know. I didn't get to play against an Hour of Devastation. I'm sure that card's a beating. Oh, yeah. Torment of Hellfire, like a lot of people were talking about it all weekend, and I played it. And I think the card is really good, but I think it's only absurd in very few limited decks, because like it was really good in my deck because I had just tons of removal.
Sure.
And so I'd like play these aggressive creatures and attack my opponent to they would be at 12, and then they had to start trading with my guys. And so I would stop. I actually was at a point where like I would stop playing creatures just to play removal spells, so my Torment of Hellfire was just a blowout.
Right.
And I don't think that's going to be the norm. I think the card's really good, but I don't think in limited it's unbeatable. But it kind of pins. Like the set, I felt like was much more balanced. So the Amonkhet set was a lot of bad blocking, but there also was decent. Like you could do a little bit better blocking in limited and sealed. And so the sealed format was mostly kind of mid-rangey, while the draft format was like extremely aggressive. Eventually, everybody was playing like these one-drop Slitherblade decks.
Yeah.
And so like I never played a format where the sealed and the draft were so different.
Yeah.
And then in this set, they came out with some really aggressive creatures, but they also came out with some like moderately weaker creatures and way better removal.
Yeah.
And so it feels like the sealed format sped up because now you have more removal to clear your path. Mm-hmm. And the draft format slowed down a hair because there's some really good common removals like Open Fire, and then there's the black 3-drop that you put a -1/-1 counter and then destroy a creature.
Yep.
And sometimes you can like have synergies, so you like the -1/-1 counter is actually value. So
yeah,
I don't know, it's pretty crazy. The Grind to Dust is just absurd. That card's stupid.
That's the one that's. What does that card do again?
You give up to 2 creatures 1 -1/-1 counter.
Oh, that's right.
For 3 mana, and then you like aftermath it for I think 4 or 5, and you can exile any number of creatures -1/-1 counters. So like against the green black decks, you like give these 2 things -1/-1s, and then exile 6 of your things.
You're board for 3 mana.
Whoa! What happens now? So like it's a little crazy.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that card, I was like, "This seems absurdly powerful in the right deck." So I'm curious to see, because a card like that just screams to be played in standard. Just like abuse -1/-1 counters, and then if you're doing it on your side of the board, hope that they don't cast it against you. It just seems absolutely absurd.
I mean, the big thing is like Open Fire at common. It tells you how strong Lightning Bolt is.
Yeah.
That this 3 mana Lightning Bolt. It's pretty good. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, there's that, and then there's Puncturing Blow in red, and then
that card's real good.
Feast of Scarabs in black that adds like the 3/-1/-1
That was pretty good. Yeah, the enchantment I don't like.
The enchantment's not as good. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's slow and the opponent has time to like work around it. But the Torment is pretty good. The 4 mana that gets 3 counters and they have to like sack something or discard something or lose 3 life. That one's pretty good.
Yeah. And then the green one, the half of a fight card, I forget.
What the Abrade.
Yeah, well, Abrade's the lightning bolts for 2.
No, no. It's something with an A.
Yeah, it's a consternation or something like that. I'm gonna find it.
There we go. It's something with an A. I remember that.
Yeah, we can do this. We can do this.
Ambuscade.
There we go.
That card was really good.
Because that art on there is just so sick with like the Jekyll guy like tearing the head off of the crocodile.
Yeah.
Super brutal. All right. So, yeah, super cool. Like I am looking forward to getting in some drafts this weekend. Every store in my area is firing them off, so I'm gonna be doing that a lot this weekend, I think. So I'm looking forward to it. So overall thoughts, if you had to give like a grade right now, coming from Amonkhet, which is like you said, went from a very grindy sealed to a very fast aggressive draft format, how would you grade this now? Better than Amonkhet or worse than Amonkhet, just from your initial impression? I
mean, I need to play it more because I've only seen a few of the cards. I would say it's on par. Maybe I'm a pretty strict grader.
Yeah.
And I would
crying out loud.
Yeah, I would put it like a C+ or a B-, like as overall, but I think that's pretty good in my opinion. Like it takes a lot to really get to really impress me in limited.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There's not quite enough intricacy in some of the things it does, but it's still really interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's too many cards that are just like game over bombs. But there's some really good ones.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
I'll be curious to see how the draft format shifts around, because there's a really good article over on Channel Fireball today that talks about the cards that got better and got worse from Amonkhet. Like in particular, the seals, or not the seals, but like
the trials.
The trials, yeah, got infinitely worse because there's only 2 packs of Amonkhet.
And yeah, there's no cartouches in this. I thought there was gonna be like maybe some gods cartouches, but no.
Yeah.
I would say, I was having this conversation before. If the sealed slow down a little bit, or not sealed, the draft slow down a little bit, then I think I like the set overall better. Because I'm all for limited. Because limited, sometimes you get bad draws, and you don't want to like just lose to opponent's bombs. And I think the rares are a little bit better. But the idea of cycling and the idea of Eternalize and Embalm and Aftermath means that a lot of your cards are just, they have these other effects later in the game for you to climb back into the game. So if it's reducing variance by having slower games so we can cycle if we have bad mulligans, I'm all for it.
Yeah, most definitely. And
more consistent games.
Yeah, and you mentioned Eternalize. That was the one thing I saw over on Reddit, and every place that was talking about the pre-release was just saying Eternalize is absolutely disgusting because of the 4/4 body just brick walls pretty much everything in the format, and it's such a small investment over the course of a game. So I think, at least within my set review, I think I might have graded those Eternalize cards a little bit too harshly, because they seem to be much more powerful than I give them credit for.
They're pretty good. They dodge a lot of the removal spells, and they give a lot of inevitability, because like you don't really want to bring in exile effects because your opponent runs a couple Eternalized cards, and so normally they're 2-for-1s and stuff like that. So I think it's pretty strong overall, but not insane, but pretty good.
Yeah, most definitely. So let's kind of shift our attention, since we have Standard starting up this next weekend. I think we have our first SCG event going on in where's it going to be? Cincinnati this weekend. So that'll be exciting, and we'll see Hour of Devastation on display for the first go around. And we've kind of got some predictions here as far as what we think it's going to look like. So, Shawn, what is your impression of what's Standard? Because I know you've been doing a lot of testing so far. The shift from Amonkhet to Hour of Devastation Standard. What do you think so far?
I think the format's definitely going to change. It really depends on. There's a couple key cards. 2 of them are red, and how often they get played is going to determine how the format goes from the new set.
Yeah.
So I was having some conversations before, and like the strongest thing you could do in Standard was turn 1 Attune, turn 2 you have Harness Lightning for 5, and that's like one of the strongest things you can have. And pairing Harness Lightning with a Braid means that there's a lot of really good instant speed red removal.
Finally, too.
Yeah, and so it kind of depends on the rate in which we pair these things. If we have like 4 Harness Lightnings, 1 or 2 Abrades, then Cars is not as bad. But if we have like 3 Harness Lightnings, 3 or 4 Abrades, or 4 and 4, Cars takes a huge hit. Aggro decks in general take huge hits. The energy decks can still get out of control, but I mean, like, say you're playing against Blu-ray Control, which I think is probably one of the best decks moving into the new format.
Yeah.
If they're packing 8 2-drop red removal spells, your energy creatures really struggle to get out of control.
Yeah.
And then they also have like Supreme Will, which is an upgrade on your disallows, because now you can like filter with them later.
Yep.
But I think the big card that's going to determine the thing. So I was reading Adam Yurchik's article earlier, and I think where he was making mistakes is Hour of Devastation is going to set the tone for Standard moving forward. It's the new Bonfire of the Damned, I feel like.
That's a really good comparison, actually, yeah.
Yeah, 5 mana, all creatures lose indestructible until end of turn. Hour of Devastation deals 5 damage to each creature and each non-bolus planeswalker. I think that card, if it wasn't Mythic Rare, we'd be looking at like a $30 Mythic Rare.
Oh, definitely.
Luckily, it's a regular rare, so it's like going to stay at 10 or dip a little below. Yep. A lot of Adam Yurchik's articles are only putting 2 in his list. I think if you're running that card and you're running anything less than 3, you're wrong. And if you're the deck that wants you probably want 4.
Yeah. So
like the ramp decks, the Blu-ray Control decks. But I think that card is backbreaking, because now the control decks can battle back from a Resolved Gideon.
Yes.
The big thing is like a Channel Fireball article I'd gotten wrong the other day, which was funny. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, but Selfless Spirit and Avacyn don't save you from this card.
No, they
So
don't.
he was trying to say like, oh, but Avacyn lets your team survive. You just lose your Gideon. I'm like, no, because everybody gets indestructible, and you have to do that in response to this.
Yes.
And then this spell resolves and says now they lose the indestructible, and you can't respond to the damage happening. So this card's going to be really big in the format. Avacyn was the better of the 5-drops over Glorybringer because it trumped Glorybringer, but now the Glorybringer, the haste might be more important. So I'm pretty sure this Hour of Devastation card is going to really set the tone for what's going on. Like, I don't know if zombies can keep up with it. I don't know if like these mono white decks can keep up with it, or any of these energy decks can keep up with it because they have to get really big real fast to get around it.
Yeah.
And then they also, like, these control decks have these lower removal spells. So I'm liking that deck a lot, and the ramp deck a lot, because Hour of Promise I think is insane. Which the ramp deck gets to run Hour of Promise and Hour of Devastation and Abrade and Harness Lightning. So like, it's going to just kill everything. The only problem is it probably struggles against control decks, but it has the eventuality of Ulamog.
Yeah, most definitely.
So,
and you can hit like a relatively early Ulamog too if you're able to attune. And then how fast can you cast the Hour of Promise at that point? Like 3, I think? Or 4?
You can turn 4 it.
Yeah.
If you... Yeah, it's a turn 4, but like it depends on how you're running it. Because like either you're running the 3-drop ramp version where you got to get a basic put into play tapped with a 3-mana spell, or I think I have a list that might make Ruin in the Wake work. And if that works, you're still doing it on turn 4, but you're getting to like play a 4-drop on turn 3 instead of taking your turn 3 off to ramp. But the only thing like if ramp and control are good, Hour of Devastation goes down, and then as soon as those decks shave Hour of Devastations for the control and ramp matchups, then these aggressive decks get way better again. But literally every time I look at the decks that are possibly in the format, it all comes down to like, okay, so you have to decide, is this an hour a week or not an hour a week? And if it's an hour a week, then you can't play these aggro decks. If it isn't an hour a week, you can play the aggro decks, which means everything's revolving around Hour of Devastation. Yeah. Because it doesn't kill Gear Hulk in the mirror match. It doesn't kill the ramp targets. So,
which is really interesting, especially for bigger events like GP Denver, where it's so hard to predict, what you're going to play, and even in the early rounds, if you don't have any buys, like this guy won't. It's just going to be insane to try to figure out what's going to go on week to week. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, that card is going to rock standard, even when it's not rocking standard. Yeah, you always have to worry about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't. So I'm not. I don't know if it's viable. I would almost like to see the blue-red control decks. He's expensive, so it might not work. But there's like the 3-mana blue creature that comes into play, and you draw cards equal to its power, then discard 2 cards. Oh yeah. He's like a 3-mana 2/1, and he has Eternalize for like 7.
Shaper of Will or something like that.
Yeah.
Champion of Wits. There we go.
Yeah, and so he's a blue dude, and so he's not great, but like if it starts to be a really ramp and control heavy meta, I could see the blue-red control decks running 1 or 2 of him, because then in the mirror matches you get to throw these Hour of Devastations away for 2 other cards. Yes. And then in the aggro matchups, he's still not dead because he gets to block, and you can throw away something that's worse, or like excess lands. And then like even in the control matchups and the mirror matchups, you like then eternalize him later to draw 2 cards, and you have a 4/4. So it's something that I could see that card like potentially coming in as a way to like loot your extra hours away. But definitely. I can't see myself sleeving. We're a ways out from Denver, but I want to run like a red-green energy deck or a zombie deck, but my gut is telling me right now that I'm going to be sleeving 4 Hour of Devastation and 56 other cards. Like, it's either 4 Hour of Devastation with some forests or 4 Hour of Devastation with some islands. Yeah. But it's all about hours, so I don't know. I think that card's going to warp the format.
Yeah, it most definitely will, and I'm sure that it's usually a pretty common thing to see a lot of aggressive decks in week 1, as we've already seen on the Moto results, we'll talk about here in just a minute. But I can easily see people just showing up with Hour Devastation in their decks or 75s on Saturday and just walking across the tables like it's nothing.
Yeah, like the thing is, like a lot of these early lists, they're wanting to play it safe, and so they're like, well, I'm gonna run 2 Hour Devastations and a Sweltering Sun and a second Sweltering Sun in the sideboard, and you're like,
which is fine. Why? If you need it earlier.
But if we have 8 red removal spells, I don't need these Sweltering Suns. I'm just running 4 Hour Devastations and 8 red removal spells, and then we move on from there. Like, come at me. Yeah. That's fine.
And then we've already been talking about what like Grixis control might look like too. And I sat down the other night trying to figure out, well, how many Grasp of Darkness, how many Alliance of Disintegration do we play? And the number just comes out to be 0.
It's really the blue-red deck is so good and so streamlined, and
Yeah.
has normally you go black because you want to board wipe, and now we have like this Hour of Devastation. So like if you really want to do something, you splash your like 2 black lands and 4 Aether Hubs for Nicol Bolas, and the rest of it's just the blue-red control deck. The blue-red control deck is so good right now.
Yeah.
So a Braid really helps it because now we can we have tons of counter magic for Gideons. We have Braids for Heart of Kieran's.
Yes.
We have Magma Sprays for Scrap Heap Scoundrels. So all the cards that historically beat us, we just blow them out.
Yeah.
And like, I really like how I don't like it. Like I like slightly more open fields because whenever fields are more open, then the really controlling decks get worse, and I can like go beat somebody with some aggressive decks.
Yeah.
But like, there's so many cards now that don't pass the Hour of Devastation test.
Yes.
And so you're like, okay, Spell Queller fails the Hour of Devastation test. Selfless Spirit fails the Hour of Devastation test. Avacyn. So unless you have your own counter magic, you have to be able to beat this Hour of Devastation. And how are you doing it with creature decks very effectively unless you're getting the nut draws every time, which you can't count on?
Yeah.
So if you can't count on your nut draws, like the zombies don't get big enough fast enough. So if you're not able to count on your nut draws, then you're just toast because they have good enough cheap interaction. This is like one of the better control decks I've seen in Standard since Caw-Blade, just on its face value.
Yeah, like Supreme Verdict was always really good back in the day, but Hour just does enough more that it's absolutely insane.
Because normally the way you beat those decks is like the Mardu deck would like bring in these planeswalkers and just like resolve this unrelenting value of planeswalkers. Mm-hmm. Now Hour of Devastation makes it where it's like, well, those things need to sit and play for a while, and why did I let them resolve in the first place? Like, I don't know. The format's gonna be crazy. Like Supreme Will plus Hour of Devastation plus a Braid makes these control decks real hard to look away from. Whereas the ramp decks, Hour of Promise, Hour of Devastation, and a Braid make those also hard to look away from. So there's no telling.
Yeah, it's a completely irrelevant point, but I really like the way that Hour of Promise is a green card that depicts a blue-red card that makes black tokens and is showing off a white enchantment. So it's literally the color pie on one card. Completely irrelevant point, but flavorful nonetheless.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. The new set as a whole, it doesn't have a whole lot of financial value. There's not a lot of cards I think are going to do tons of work because Eternalize just doesn't translate very well. Yeah. But the few cards that are going to do work are going to do real work.
Yeah, I saw that box EV was somewhere around $65, I think $70, which is the lowest since Dragons of Tarkir came out.
And what it is they printed a few of the good cards as like lower rarities than they probably should have.
Yeah.
If Hour of Devastation was a mythic, this whole story changes.
Yeah.
But that being said, Hour of Devastation might actually end up being worth a fair amount because the set's EV is so low that people aren't going to open it as much. So you might not see, like, there's not many people I know that are going out and buying boxes. Yeah. So you might not see as many Hour of Devastations, which allows it the opportunity to become a $15 rare.
Yeah. But like, remember back when Bonfire of the Damned was printed, and that was a $50 mythic for its entirety instead. And I don't think that Wizard wants that to happen anymore. So they're being very cognizant about that. This card I've never felt a card as much like I do with Bonfire and this card being similar. Like this doesn't kill your opponent, so that's huge. But like kills Planeswalkers, gets rid of indestructibility, which right now is really relevant. So. It's less relevant whenever Eldritch Moon and Shadows of Innistrad rotate out and we lose Selfless Spirit and Avacyn, but right now that's a huge effect, and Gideon is this is how we take care of the Gideon oppression. Yeah, which is fantastic. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I could not be more excited that I won't have to play Gideon at GP Denver. Or maybe I will. We'll see what happens.
So, somebody on Channel Fireball was talking about drafting in this set, and they said that one of the Channel Fireball teams had the motto, if its art is on the box, you effing draft it. Because that means it's something you want. If it's something that they're going to put the art on like their advertisement for, then guess what? Pack one, pick one. I'm taking that card. This picture looks familiar. Click. The card.
So that should just be the status quo moving forward, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. All right.
So I was looking through Adam Yurchik's list, and so he had the red-green ramp deck, and it was like 2 Hour of Devastations, 2 Kozilek's returns. And I'm like, but Hour of Devastation... It's basically the same thing as Kozilek's Return. You just don't get the front side of 2 damage, which is fine.
Exactly.
I'd rather just have 4 Hour of Devastation.
Yeah, and you're already casting that on turn 4 anyway. I don't know.
We'll see.
I mean, there's always the conspiracy theory of these pro players not putting the best card in the deck to not build the hype on it yet, and then they show up for their first tournament. It's like, oh, hey guys, this is actually the best card in the set, and we have 15 copies in our decks. So
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth noting that his list, like, hold on, let me check the last one. Yeah, none of his lists ran 4 Hour of Devastation.
Yeah.
And so that's a huge, like, they all ran 2. Blue Red Control ran 2, and Ramp ran 2, and the rest of his decks didn't. He also, I mean, they have to hammer out these lists real fast because he also has this Cat Tribal deck that runs 4 Attune with the Aether with no energy payoff. And it's like, well, then you might as well just run 4 Traversal in them all because you have Metallic Mimic, you have a Planeswalker, you have Cast Out. It does have Long Tusk Cub, but
that's a cat, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess you have Long Tusk Cub, but I almost think you'd rather have Traverse over Attune.
Yeah.
But I guess turn one Attune into turn 2 Cub is like real beating.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, how early are you hitting Delirium and Cat Tribal anyway?
Well, you have Metallic Mimic, Gideon, you have spells, and you have cast outs. So
that's true, yeah.
you can realistically do it, but I guess maybe for the fast starts, Attune's just better.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think they do it. They don't. Whenever you're riding at this level, like you have to get something out real fast. You want it to sell cards, so you don't give it a ton of thought.
Yeah.
But I will be surprised if 2 of Hour of Devastation is what we see moving forward for at least a little while.
Yeah, you can go over to Channel Fireball, and there's already been 2 articles written about Blue-Red Control, and it's a little bit ridiculous that they have 2 different authors writing about the same deck twice.
Yeah.
But I think those are also like kicking like around like 3s and 4s as well of those. So
yeah, I mean, I was having discussions with some other friends of mine. And they were saying that like Green Black Delirium is probably one of the best decks in the format. Until we started really hashing it out, and we're like, okay, but does Green Black Delirium beat Blue Red when Blue Red gets to run Crook of Condemnation, which is the new relic,
yes,
and Hour of Devastation? Because with Emrakul gone, the Green Black Delirium list, their win con is Ishkana, Noxious Gearhulks, which all died Hour of Devastation.
Hour, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't know if these are 2 slow controlling decks, and the blue-red one just flat out trumps the other one, so it has better removal, so you might as well just go with that one.
Yeah, most definitely, yeah. So if it requires more, hand disruption like Doomfall or different cards like that, what's the other one I'm trying to think of? The 2-mana exile from the hand.
Transgress.
Yeah, Transgress. If it takes more things like that out of the green-black decks, maybe, but they still get burned out by it. But we could talk about Hour of Devastation all night, I think, and how great that card is.
Hey, I got time. I can sit here. Normally I'm a very negative individual on cards, and every time I look at that card, my heart skips another beat, and I'm like, oh, buddy.
I haven't been hyped this much for a card since I saw probably like Aetherling or Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah. Well, I've moved away from control. Like I used to be real hard on like control and combo and like niche decks, but the more I've been trying to be real competitive and I want to get to the Pro Tour, the more I've gone like aggro and I've left control in the backseat. And so I haven't really been very interested in really doing much control for competitive events for a while now. But this is, I just keep coming back to this deck.
Yeah. I mean, it's been good. It's been good a couple times with, I think it was Pro Tour. Kaladesh was won by Grixis Control. Like there was a control mirror in the finals. It pops up every once in a while, but this is, I think, the first time that Wizards is saying we want to give control a really good shot. Being competitive here, and I think that's exactly it's absolutely fine. Like we've been begging for answers, and I don't think they could have given us a better answer than Hour of Devastation itself.
Yeah, it just has such a good draw package, and the Hour like fixes this less than ideal starts against zombie decks. So I don't know.
We'll see where it goes. But let's shift our attention over to Magic Online for a couple minutes here, because we're seeing something different here. And Shawn, you've got the article here in front of you, I think, for what they're actually doing with this.
So Magic has recently announced. I have a funny tweet I read earlier that I'll say after I explain it. And so basically they announced and they said, okay, we're having too much identical metagame switches where people are all running the same list and too fast because of the internet and Magic Online results and GPs and Star City games. The format's being solved too quickly. And it's going to be solved even quicker now that Magic Online is active with the new cards a week before it even comes out in paper. So that like speeds up the solving. And so they basically are saying what we're going to do is instead of posting 10 random 5-0 decks from leagues every day, we're going to post 5, with the caveat that they have to have at least 10 card difference between the other decks that they're posting with.
Yes.
It wasn't a ton of detail. They didn't verbatim say, like, well, if I run 3 Harness Lightnings and they run 4 Harness Lightnings, is that a 1-card difference? My instinct is it has to have 10 different named cards difference.
Yes. And that's what it looks like right now, at least.
That's what it looks like on the first 2 they've posted. Yeah. And so their hope is that it's harder to see it. Because the problem is whenever they would post 10 10-0 decks, 10 5-0 decks, and 7, 8, 9 of them were identical decks, everybody just knew after that day, like, well, this is the best deck moving forward. And so they moved in on that, and it became real, like, people, I bet you money they stopped seeing traffic on their website at those articles because people just started knowing the best decks. And so
I can't remember last time I actually looked at a top 8 listing from a non-GPR Pro Tour event on the Wizards website.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do it super often because their website's not phenomenal and it doesn't like load well on mobiles and stuff. I normally have my friends who, like, if something's relevant, they'll post and tag me in it in a group we're in.
Yeah.
But I don't get on and dig through it much. I'm hoping this is cool. I saw some people saying, like, well, this stinks because 10 decks means there's a higher likelihood I see something unique, and that way I can, like Franco was saying, so he could stream these unique decks. But the problem is, more often than not, you're seeing a lot of the same decks. Whenever there's 10 of them, this has a higher likelihood of showing us something unique.
Yes.
I would like it to be 10, but I don't think they can do 10 with 10 different card difference.
Yeah. It'd probably have to go down to like 5, but you're absolutely right. If you look back a couple months, especially if you go over to MTG Top 8, which is the website that I use a lot for deck lists, if you filter to the 2 most recent weeks, you get a much better idea of what the actual metagame looks like. And if you go back and even further to show like 2 months, you'll see that we had just top 8s from leagues of just all Marvel decks or all Greenback Energy decks, and that's what we don't want to see a lot of. That just gets really boring after a while.
Yeah, I'm hoping it works out. If it stops being unique decks, it'd be cool if they could figure out like a formula where it's like we post 5, and then we also have an automatic thing where we post a deck that hasn't been on this list in the last 2 weeks. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
I think that'd be cool, but where it automatically searches for an undefeated or a 4-1 deck that hasn't been posted before.
Yeah.
That's like 15 cards different from anything that's posted in the last 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. I think that'd be pretty cool. But I mean, all in all, like, it's hopefully going to make it where the metagame is a little bit less solid. For a competitive player, that's a little disappointing, because it's easier to navigate known waters than unknown. Mm-hmm. But by getting in and just playing leagues, you'll kind of see the metagame, watching GPs and Stress City games. So
yeah,
hopefully it accomplishes what they want, which is the format breaks a little less fast. The tweet I saw, somebody tweeted like Wizards announced their new league deck list announcements, shortly followed by a statement of, hopefully by the time you notice our R&D mistakes, they've already rotated or something. Like that was like that. Basically, this person's theory was that like the reason they're making this change is that the R&D mistakes don't get noticed as fast, and hopefully they'll just rotate before they have to take blame for it.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a joke, but it really isn't. If you think back 10 plus years where the internet was not the thing that it is today, you didn't have formats get broken like this. I mean, you would have somebody show up to a tournament and walk across the tables with like Cobblade. Like, nobody knew Cobblade was a thing until the guys broke it at, I think, GP or Pro Tour San Diego, and it was just, that was it. But now, if you 5-0, or if you prior to this, if you 5-0 a daily event, your list was everywhere within minutes. Like, and that's just no fun, I don't think.
No, yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm hoping it's going to turn out cool, but we'll see.
Yeah, most definitely. So, I know that you and I we're kind of on this testing gig for Denver coming up, because I haven't touched standards since Origins came out, so I am.
It's been a while.
I am rusty as all get out, and unfortunately, Snapcaster Mage is no longer legal in the format, so I had to substitute his bigger Megazord brother. But that's fine.
Yeah, I have the RPTQ the week before GP Denver, and then I have GP Denver. So it's either gonna be a really good 2 weeks, or I'm gonna go into Denver with a huge chip on my shoulder, and we'll see what happens.
The saltiest person in the world.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a lot of testing, because do you know how much hype it would be if I like qualify for the Pro Tour, and then run deep at GP Denver again. So that would be.
There's a precedence already because you and James went. James was top 16. I think both of you were top 16, right, or top 32.
We were both top 32. I think you were both top 30. I think James was. I was 29th. I think James was like 31st or 30, something like that.
Yeah.
But he had a winning in. I took a bad line in GP Denver to make it where I couldn't top 8. And I was able to win my last round, and he lost his winning in last round, and so I ended up leaping him a little bit in the stats. But he definitely had the better day because he needed to win 1. I was dead by the last round for top 8. So, but I mean, I've gone to 3 GP Denvers. It's gonna be the first time I don't go in like December. Yeah. So it's gonna be really nice to go out there and not be dying of pneumonia or like some other Oregon Trails kind of storyline while I'm playing the tournament. So it'll be great.
Shawn has died of dysentery.
I get to actually see what the city's like aside from, looking like a shitty snowball. So
like Denver's great during like the actual times of the year where it's not a frozen wasteland.
Yeah. Every time we've gone, it's like been the coldest week they have all year, and they've gotten like huge snowstorms and ice storms, and so when you drive, you have to like drive like 10 miles an hour everywhere, and it's just like this is the worst experience.
Yeah, fortunately, and I'm going to give you full kudos and props and praise for this. Getting the hotel across the street from the convention center. Yeah. Very smart.
It was the cheapest hotel in the area, and it's right across the street from the convention center, it's going to be sweet. Perfect. We got 2 rooms, and we're just filling out the rooms with as many people without getting overboard as possible. So.
Yeah. So we're not saying we're not opening up the invitation to the podcast host because that would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Unless we get we'll do the EOT newsflash party the night before.
Now we'll go to the bar downstairs and this is great. And
now we're talking. Yeah. So yeah, I am super excited for this. I haven't been to a GP since GP Houston. I think that was last year that we went down to that.
That was a while back.
Yeah, it was like early last year. I played side events. I didn't play the main event because it was standard, and I had no desire to play. I just wanted to play Jundal weekend and Eldrazi, and I did. So yeah, this is going to be. I'm super excited for this. I mean, and we managed to get some pretty decent prices on some flights, and so I am ready to get on this testing train. And
I'm kind of your hero right now because I got you the room and I got you the flight because you were going to not go. Like, this flight's too expensive, and I was like, look, you just take this little bit of drive, you go to this other airport, and boom, you're with us in Denver.
You mean a 3-hour drive to Orlando? And then
you're from Texas. You don't get to complain about a 3-hour drive. You know how this works. You signed on for this when you were born.
That's true. I mean, I've made the drive before. I made it there and back in one night after seeing a concert. Granted, I almost died on the way back, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but somebody's flying, so it's not even, you're good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're flying on Frontier, though, which is, it's not Spirit, but...
Yeah, I mean, I read that as like, so my flight's at like 6:40 or something like that, and the little note says like frequently delayed 30 minutes, and I was like, so I don't have to be there on time. This is great. This is perfect. So.
He says that now until he's sprinting through DFW Terminal X or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Knocking people out of the way.
Yeah, we're gonna haul butt to get there.
It's gonna be interesting though, because like the way that Frontier runs their pricing, like you charge for everything, so literally it's just a backpack.
I'm gonna have a deck box and a playmat in my backpack, and then everything else is gonna be like the clothes I'm wearing, one alternate set of clothes, whatever smells the least bad. That's my Sunday outfit. That's called the Frontier uniform.
There you go. I've already done a test fit of my backpack, so I'm good to go. And I think I got some extra room for some extra crap. I don't know yet.
I took the middle seat because I didn't want to pay the extra $10 to sit on the aisle or something. So I took the middle seat for $0 upcharge, and we're just hoping we don't lose the lottery there.
So you're like in the very back of the plane then, because I saw those seats and I said
I'm super back in the plane. I'm like 3 rows from the back. Which I don't mind, because I get real frustrated getting off airplanes with people who are being dumb. So I always prefer to be in the back and just like sit and be like, everybody else get off, and then I'll get off.
See, I'm the opposite. I paid for the upgrade towards the front of the plane, so I can just walk off as soon as we're ready.
I don't want to. I'd rather just sit there. I'm like, it's 10 or 15 minutes. I get to save money because the front of the plane was like a $30 upcharge. I don't know. I'm not made of money.
Yeah, it was $13 for the seat in the middle of the plane. So 26 all in round trip.
Yeah, no, I ended up going in 0, so I was like, hopefully we just don't lose the lottery of who's sitting on each side of me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's not a real heavy travel weekend. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
and you get lucky and the plane's half empty.
That's the hope. It was looking pretty empty right now. Like it was just like all the middle seats were gone because everybody booked those to 0. So it's probably a bunch of Magic players on that flight because all the middle seats are gone and we're all cheap. So it's like, oh. But,
when you get to the airport and it's nothing but backpacks, you're just like, you're in good company. You draft on the flight.
Yeah. Oh my God, this backpack's gonna go underneath my seat. This is gonna be the first time I've ever. No, I flew to New York and DC this way, but like I don't very often fly with 2 different companies. So I'm like flying out with Frontier, back with United, I think.
Nice.
So this is not what I normally do, but I was like, whatever. I had Google Flights just find me the cheapest possible option, and I said deal.
Yeah. Can we shout out to Google Flights really quick because that is the best thing I never knew about up until today.
Oh yeah, you can subscribe to it too. Like
I have.
So if you have a trip going, you just you just type in the dates and the location of the trip you're looking for, and anytime there's a price change, it'll email you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all in on this. Like saved so much money already.
Oh, yeah,
Basically cut my flight pay in half, and I get to drive through the Florida wilderness.
Yeah. I think we're up to 8 people splitting 2 rooms, so we're actually gonna have a pretty good deal. It's gonna be a sweet time.
Yeah, I am.
As long as the format doesn't suck, it's gonna be a sweet time.
Yeah. Otherwise, we just play side events all day.
I mean, last time I was in Denver, Smuggler's Copter, Reflector Mage, Emrakul, Marvel were all legal, so we're gonna be in a lot more stable environment when we go out there now.
All right. Okay. Real quick before we go for the night, what's the over under on an emergency ban of something in standard before GP Denver?
Nothing. There's nothing emergency ban. The only other card that was like being really impressive was like this Gideon card, and now we have Hour of Devastation. So I don't know.
Gideon,
I mean, like the card. I don't get it. I don't get like people who have been down on Hour of Devastation because it's like they named the set after it. They put its art all over the place.
Yeah.
This card's insane. This card's just insane.
Like you can't be that dense, people. Like, it's just the name of it's the name of the game. Literally, it's the name of the game.
They didn't name the set like Hour of Meh. Like it's obviously real good. I don't know.
So, pro tip: moving forward, whenever a set is released and the name of a set is in a card name, go ahead and pre-order like 40 copies of those.
Yeah, like
a
card's real good. Yeah. I can't test standard until a lot of the prices online are inflated because a lot of the rental websites aren't going to be renting cards from Hour of Devastation until Friday.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the cards are inflated. So if I want to play online, I can't play standard until tomorrow because I'm like, well, I'm not going to go pay inflated Hour of Devastation prices.
Nope.
But as of tomorrow, oh boy, we're going to be testing zombies, green-red energy, blue-red control, ramp, testing everything.
And I will be in your ear the entire time making terrible, terrible jokes.
Hey, man, come on. I gotta find something that works.
There we go. So, yeah, really quickly before we break for the night, if you do want to watch Shawn and I's standard testing Palooza 2017, where should they go to watch?
So I'm going to be streaming all my testing on my Twitch at Busted Sleeves. I will tweet before I go live with what deck list I'm going live with on my Twitter, which is also Busted Sleeves.
Yep.
And my testing method, whenever it's like something new came out, is I'm going to test a different deck every day, even if it's slight variations for the first couple weeks. And then for the last like week to 2 weeks before I go to Denver, I'm going to be testing pretty close to what I'm going to run. Yep. Because I don't get enough I'm not worried about a big enough following for anybody to like see me and snipe me. So maybe one day if I have a bigger following and I'm starting to get absurd numbers of watchers, I might start being a little more close to the chest. But test something different every time. I also built a new layout that you might be interested in that's going to enable me to have other players get on Skype calls with me, and we'll have both of our videos up. We'll have both of our deck lists in image form on each side of the stream. And you'll be able to hear both of us talking while you watch one deck's hand play out. So you get to hear us talk out what's happening in the game, what we're experiencing, what we were playing around when we make decisions. Yep. But you only get to see one person's hand. So it's still a level of like, what play would you make? And then you get to talk to the other person to figure out if you think that would have been the right or wrong play based off what they have going on.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's going to be pretty sweet. I was working on that the other day, building the new layout. So it's going to be awesome. So Twitter at Busted Sleeves, Twitch at Busted Sleeves, YouTube at Busted Sleeves. All that same information I post on Twitter before I go live.
Yep, and I'll make sure that I link all of that within my own Twitter at EOT Newsflash. I'll put it all on the Facebook page and make sure if you want to watch us, you can watch us.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a particular deck you want to run, I'm also pretty open to running people's brews. I'm going to be doing tons of testing getting ready for this tournament, so I have time to fit in a brew, and if it surprises me, I'll all more for it.
Yeah.
If you think it's something I should take to Denver, you can message us the list, and I will play anything because I can run pretty much every standard deck.
Yeah.
So
there we go. Yeah. So check out Busted Sleeves over at Busted Sleeves. Just Google Busted Sleeves, and you'll probably find every avenue possible for him. You can find us over here at the EOT Newsflash. Look for literally the EOT Newsflash on anywhere and find us. And yeah, let us know what you want to see played, and we're gonna come back this time again next week. I promise. We're not taking a week off due to vacations. That was my own fault. I apologize for not letting people know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like I said, consistently the most inconsistent. But next week we will have probably some, initial testing results, what we've liked so far. We'll have the standard results from, was it Cleveland that I said, or Cincinnati?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. There we go. Yep, Cincinnati from Star City Games Open. It's going to be great. I am caring about standard for the first time in a very long time, and I'm hungry to battle.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet. It's going to be real fun. I'll probably do some videos and post those online, like from my phone while we're out there. I'll be tweeting my status and how I'm doing during the tournament while I'm in Denver and while I'm at the RPTQ until I get salty. So yeah, if you Google Busted Sleeves, actually the first 4 hits are my Twitter account, Twitch account, YouTube account. So sweet.
Yep. And then when Shawn gets salty at GP Denver, I'll have my camera out to record that in it. So it's like it's a continuation. It's like part 1, part 2.
I'll just post for further information, follow this account, and it's just going to be pictures of me just going, ah!
So Shawn is New Hope, and I'm Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. There we go.
We'll need to find somebody to be our Jedi for us. Maybe Drew?
No, there's nobody from that side of the chat that's coming in as Jedi. I promise you that. No. We better be looking at like Stephen Pierce. That might be our Jedi.
Oh, there we go. He looks kind of like a Jedi, too, with his beard.
Yeah. I mean, we currently have 8 people going in our 2 rooms, and that's with like some pending information, so it's going to be sweet.
It's going to be nuts. Good times. Yeah. I think that about wraps it up for tonight. Again, check out Busted Sleeves, check out EOT Newsflash across all channels of social media. And we will see you guys next week. And Shawn, do you want to say the line?
Oh, I don't ever remember what the line is. By this point of the night, I'm like barely awake. Yeah, do it another time and stuff.
At a predetermined point in time, we'll be doing this thing for a consecutive time. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.